Dear Tyler, good morning. How are you doing? How have you been? How's your week been? I hope you've been fine. I hope everything has been good, right? So I'd start with an apology. I know that I was meant to release an episode on Monday, but apparently I've not gotten stories for the week. The Monday stories from other listeners and all. So that made it a little bit hard. Also, I was actually meant to reach someone on it, and I couldn't just get across to the person. But hopefully, we'll get the person's story on Monday. For me, it's a lot easier when I have quite a lot of, topics and all. It just helps me to reach out to them easily, and sometimes what they share has a way of tallying with what I want to share on Thursdays. So this is me soliciting. Please, if you've got a story that you'd love to share, I would really appreciate it. You could just reach out to me on Instagram. And then we'll talk about it. But either way, I think after this Monday's story, I'll just figure out something to keep it going, to be able to be as consistent as possible, right? So, yeah, that's it for that. So going on with the series, it's been really, really amazing. It's been amazing in the sense that, like I told you before, that for me, I'm learning in the process of, sharing each time. And, we've been considering the fruits of the Spirit. And today we're going to talk about patience, aka long suffering. And I decided to give it the title, In the Waiting Room. When you think about life generally, one of the hardest things to do, right? One of the hardest things to ever do is to wait. That demand for stillness, patience, it's nerve wracking. And I think that's the reason why in the King James Version patience is called long suffering, because patience has a lot to do with being in a very uncomfortable situation and having to wait through it. Now, remember I said that the whole concept of the fruit of the Spirit are not just things that God demands from us, but they're things that He actually works in us, right? Now, the thing about patience is that it comes in a multi-dimensional way, right? So it's multifaceted in the sense that you need to learn to have patience for people, patience in situations, and then patience with yourself. So we'll just go through it, and then maybe I'll share some little experiences that I've had and all. Now, patience with people. It's easy to believe that maybe this is like the hardest one, especially if you're maybe like in a leadership role, you are elderly, or you're a mentor of some sort. That patience can really wear thin. Why? Because you have to deal with the excesses of people. Now that's really hard. It's really, really hard dealing with the excesses of people. When you know that people should do some certain things and they don't do it, and your leadership capacity demands that you groom them to the point that they get it right. Now think about how parents are with kids, right? I have this awesome friend of mine, Ringnan. She's on Instagram, the twin mom. Very peculiar lady. Imagine giving birth to two sets of twins. So you're battling toddlers, twins, right? And then God now blesses you with another set of twins. Sometimes when I go through her Instagram post, you could see you could just imagine, or you could feel that whole rush in her, like, please, these children, just give me a break. You understand? When she talks about feeding the kids, sometimes I'm just like, oh my God, how does she even do it? You're trying your best to cater for two, younglings, right? These are like overtly dependent offspring. And then you've got toddlers who are seeking attention and, trying to navigate from being, giving the utmost attention to, not necessarily, maybe saying secondary is not the right word, but, that reduced attention. It's mad and it's crazy. I'm not a mother. I would not be a mother. I would never understand it. But then you could get, that whole, that whole scenario around it. And I really cut caps for her. And then I was talking with, a friend of mine, Alan, yesterday. His baby has just been refusing both of them to sleep. It's just like, we know that you need attention, but you also need us alive to be able to do some certain things. I remember when I was learning how to ride a bicycle, it was quite frustrating for my dad, because I would, try to, stabilize on the bike, and then I would just trip off, fear and a lot of things. And then I had these family friends of mine. They would just be moving around on their bikes, one hand, no hand. I know it was quite frustrating for my dad to be like, okay, see your friends are doing it. Come on, Vinga, you can do it. It's really, really hard. It's really, really hard. Sometimes you could just want to give up. You just want to give up. So I remember there's this very funny scenario. My dad and my uncle, we were driving around in Abuja. My uncle's the one driving, and then he would do something. My dad would be like, can't you see this? And then he'll now breathe, drive. Are you not seeing this? What are you driving? I would never forget how my uncle just got to the side of the road, just parked, and came out. Told my dad that he should come and drive. My dad was like, what is that? He said, come and drive. That he won't drive again, that he's tired. Do you get? And so it's this one kind of like stretches on both ways. But having to drive in that kind of situation where somebody's telling you do this, it's really nerve-wracking. Really nerve-wracking. And this is what God, demands of us as believers, to have such a large heart to accommodate the weaknesses of people. You see, what we are usually patient in, or our impatience rather, comes from things that we have mastered. Usually comes from things that we have mastered. So our impatience to people comes from things that we have mastered. If I am skilled at a certain thing, right, or doing something, My impatience to other people will come from the fact that I feel like I could do it quicker, or I have a better understanding of it. That's when my impatience comes in, right? So when you are maybe engaging someone, right, that is learning something that you have mastered to a point, when the person seems to be dragging you, be like, "Ah, but it's just to do this, it's just to do this." It's because of your mastery. You find out that you hardly lose patience with people or with anyone that is struggling with what you're struggling with. You hardly lose patience with that person. Hardly. Hardly. So you're in a car, you don't know how to drive, and then you're in a car with somebody that's learning how to drive. You are so supportive because you know that your nagging at that time is liable to put you in danger. You just be like, no, 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 no. Let's not rush the person. Just allow the person to calm down. Let him be able to think. Do you understand? So naturally, our impatience comes from the fact that we've mastered things. And it's a big deal. It's a very, very big deal for us to be able to be patient with people that need to grow. Need to grow. We need to be patient with people that need to grow. Sometimes I could, just figure out, Jesus's frustrations with his disciples. Especially remember when Nicole shared the story about the 5 loaves, and how many different occasions that they had where Jesus was like, okay, what about food and all? He did a miracle twice, and the third time, it's like, come on, guys, how long will I be with you? But he, stayed with them, taught them. It's not, you see, I don't think being patient doesn't mean you don't show your frustration. No, I don't think it's that you show like you're not frustrated. No, you could show frustrations, but that you're willing to stay with the person until the person gets it. Now that's very, very important. I think that's the major thing about this whole patience and long suffering thing. For instance, you may be with a spouse, I'm not saying this from experience, but maybe from other stories of people, right? You may have a very disorganized spouse. The person grew up that way, having challenges, putting things in place. Now, the person can change, but it will take time because it's a habit. Now, you may come from a very, very, organized family where things are always put in order, or you're just this whole organized freak. I think that's like the best word I could use. You're like this organized freak and all. There are going to be a lot of times that your spouse would probably keep things scattered and all, right? Put things all over the place. Now you could be like, oh my guy, or babe, or whatever, however you guys relate. This isn't really fair, right? And I really need you to work on things. So, maybe let's start by making room for various things, right? Okay, so put your shirts on hangers, put your trousers in drawers, put your boxes in drawers, or put your socks. Help with the whole organization thing. Once in a while, just if the person, throws stuff away, you could just quietly put it in and be like, okay, babe, I dropped your stuff in the drawer or something or whatever. But I'm just saying that being frustrated or showing signs of frustration does not mean that you're not a patient person. I don't believe that, right? Because patience goes way, way deeper than just emotional expressions, right? It's about actually staying with the person and making sure that the person gets what they need to get. And the thing about this whole patience stuff, right, is that whatever you are trying to build in an individual is for their benefit and not necessarily you. Yes, you may gain one or two comfort in the person learning that skill or whatever, right? For instance, let's say driving. You can't imagine whenever you see people driving, the tutor and the student, it could be hilarious. But like most of the times when you're learning how to drive, it could be frustrating, right? Especially if it's a parent that's teaching, it could be frustrating. But the moment you learn how to drive, you become a benefit to them. Oh, okay, Binga, let's go to the market. I think I go here. Oh, do this. Go and drop your. Do you understand? So naturally, what you are demanding, or what patience demands from you when it comes to another person, it's usually for their own benefit, right? And sometimes you get to hear that outburst, and I'm even helping you. It's because I'm trying to help you. Do you understand? But it's really, really important that we learn patience. Really important that we learn patience. Think about how God was patient enough with Moses with all of his excuses. Do you understand? The major goal in patience is to help the person see themselves as more, that you are capable of doing better, you're capable of being better, right? And at this point in time, you may not see it, but I see it, and I'm willing to work with you until you're able to see it. The moment an individual sees himself in a better light, the person gains confidence, and confidence is one of the major keys in mastering a skill. Naturally, confidence is one of the major skills in mastering a skill. So that's, those are scenarios of us having to be patient with people. So the goal, right, is to let the person see themselves in a better light and staying there for the person, right? Like I said, that's why King James calls it long suffering. Now, what about patience with situations? Now, there may be certain circumstances that are beyond your control. There are things that you cannot change. Now, that's very, very, very hard. Part of scripture says, be still and know that I am God. God knows that there's some certain things that your intellect, your wisdom, your power, your experience would not be able to achieve. And he asks you to be still and to wait. That is, it's just horrible. It's just horrible. It's just horrible. I'm trying to really think up of a scenario that I could use to, give such instances. But in general, right, when you find yourself at that crossroad where you literally just have to wait. All right, so for instance, you are at the ATM on the queue. There's really nothing you can do. You just have to wait your turn. And within that period, you could see a whole lot of people, doing some funny things. Somebody would decide to come and withdraw the bank from the ATM. Like, some of us just want to get our 5K, our urgent 2K to quickly run somewhere. You're coming over and you're literally withdrawing school fees and house rent at the ATM. For what reason? Go to the bank, go into the banking hall. And it's actually a lot easier for you. When you do bulk withdrawals and all, then you now find out that the person has withdrawn all of the money in the ATM or something like that. Or having to wait for people at the ATM again, where even though there's somehow thousands of people, but I'm just using the whole situation scenario. Someone that doesn't know how to use the ATM well, or being in traffic, for instance. Yes, being in traffic. A lot of accidents have happened. A lot of accidents have happened in traffic, especially in this side of the world in Nigeria. A lot of accidents have happened in traffic because of impatience. If everybody just decided to stay on their lane, the whole traffic would eventually move. But no, because somebody wants to play smart, they do some funny things, decide to go one way, and then you're in a situation where you just apparently have to just wait. And there's nothing you can do about it. You can't go over and start picking the cars and dropping them away, out of the road and all. It's really, really quite frustrating, right? And there's really nothing you can do about it. But there are times, like I said, that you just need to be still. You've gone for an interview, and they said, okay, we'll get back to you. And you have that, that whole anxiety, that whole pressure. Oh, what's happening? What's going to happen? Or you pitched in an idea somewhere, or whatever it is, and that stuff keeps you waiting. It's really, really tough, right? But then in those moments, right, God requires us, like I used in that scripture, be still and know that I am God. When you've done all that you can do, right, then stand back and then watch the salvation of the Lord. There's really nothing you can do apart from that. God himself teaches us that when he gives us instructions, he wants us to move and then allow him to do his own part. Because we are so much control freaks, right? It's really, really hard to be in a situation that you can't control. So you try to create avenues that can give you some certain level of control. So if you're a forex trader, you'll definitely understand what I'm saying. You're not in control of the markets. Sometimes you literally have to wait for the right opportunities, or you have to stay in a very dangerous spot. But in that spot, in that moment of waiting, you could really, really make some major wins. So I would give a very honest example. So I do a little bit of trading. I'm not a professional trader. Just, let's say I'm very amateur in trading. Now, there are times, because of the whole trend movement, right, maybe I make a wrong, or I presumably make a wrong prediction. And then I see that things are going against me. I quickly cut off the trade and try to follow what I assume is now the new trend. And then all of a sudden, I now see that my first prediction was the correct prediction. And I'm now at a double loss. If you understand what I'm saying, right? I'm now at a double loss. Now, that's crazy. It's very, very crazy. It's just like you made your analysis. You've done everything that you could, guy, right? This market is not something that you control. Make your prediction and stay by it. It's hard. Most of the losses that are made are out of this whole anxiety, pressure, emotional desire to quick fix. Let me quickly grab the hand of the situation. And you find out that you've really made a lot. You could have made a lot if you'd stayed with what was your own prediction and all. Yet part of the things especially like in aviation now, pilots, you find out that they are told to trust their instruments a lot. So you find yourself in a certain situation, you go with the laid down rules, right? The instructions. And after you do all of that, you literally just be patient, especially in things like turbulence. You do what you're meant to do and then just be patient through it. You can try to be as manipulative and you could get yourself inside trouble, right? But then you just be patient. So for instance, let's give that whole turbulence stuff now. You're in a plane and there's turbulence. What can you do? The plane is shaking. There's really nothing you can do. You could panic. Your panic is not going to stop the turbulence. You could scream. You could do whatever you want to do. It's welcome. It's expected that will happen. But all of those actions, shouting at the pilot, doesn't, it doesn't change anything. Yet, I saw a very funny video one of my pilot friends sent to me. Because of turbulence and all, they were telling the pilot that I should take the plane back to Lagos. It's like, turning away doesn't mean you pass through that same. Do you understand? Sometimes you just feel like having control makes you safer, but sometimes being not in control is like the best position you could be in, because that's when you just let God have his way. And so remember, like I said, when you're dealing with people, the goal is to stay with them. It's okay to show frustration. You understand that, okay, you're not really getting this thing in time. It's okay to do that. But then the goal is that what should be magnified is that you are trying to show the person that they can be more, and you believe in that more. That's why you're staying with them, right? In the situation where you have to be patient in a situation, the key is to be still and know that he is God. Be still and know that he is God. Now, the final part is being patient with yourself. And I think this is the hardest, especially if you're melancholy. Someone like, I think I'm majorly melancholy. I'm highly melancholic. Yes, the Spirit of God is working in us and helping us through all of those temperamental issues. But if you are sort of a perfectionist, right, and you're easily given to emotions, one of the hardest things in life is to be patient with yourself, because you would usually end up placing unrealistic demands on you. Now, that lack of patience with ourselves usually gets us into trouble a lot of times. We engage in enterprises that we are not mentally, physically, financially, emotionally prepared for. But because we demand so much from ourselves, we're like, okay, come on, guy, you've got to do this, you've got to do this, you've got to do this. Oh, man, I'm almost clocking 40 and I've not done this and I've not done this. It's difficult, and especially when demands are also placed on you. You know, you're the first son, you're the first daughter, you're the first child, you're the first this. You know, everybody's looking up to you. You're the first graduate. You've got to do. Do you understand? A lot of times, these things have a way of weighing us down, and you've got to know that. Yeah, guy, you be patient with yourself. So I played the guitar, and one of my major struggles on playing the guitar is soloing, right? So just picking notes over the guitar. And it's because the first time I encountered somebody really like soloing the guitar, well, I was like, oh my God, this is so good. So I expected like, okay, it's not going to take so much time to do it. And when I started learning, like the stiffness in my fingers, it was there. It just got so frustrating. I was like, I'm not going to learn soloing is not for me. And I went into the whole chord stuff and all. But then eventually I found myself, just once in a while, without that thought, right? Without that thought that I'm actually practicing, I just pick up the guitar and I just begin to solo, just little things. And then over time, I found out that I started gaining a lot more flexibility in my fingers. I started gaining more speed and dexterity in the things that I was doing. And I was like, imagine if I carry that same patience, to be gradual. Imagine what I would have been able to achieve at this time, So the key when you have to show patience with yourself, the key is to be grateful for progress. Be grateful for progress. Count those little steps and be grateful for them, right? Those little steps are the things that make you into a star and a wonder. Anybody that you see that is good at what they do, right, is somebody that has gathered the little steps, those little moments of breakthrough, those little moments of progress, gathered them together, right, compiled them and made them into something big, right? That adage that says little drops of water make a mighty ocean. Yes, though you would want it a little bit faster and all, but I remember back in secondary school, we used to have issues sometimes with water and all. Thank God for the school I went to, we had like a borehole, and so we didn't have to like fetch water from the well, streams, or whatever. But sometimes, because of the light situation, water may not be readily available. and there may just be a little bit of water left in the tank. And what I could do is, I'll just take a bucket, put it at the tap, and as it's just dripping slowly, I'm doing some other things, but I'm allowing it to stay, right? And then maybe like in 30 minutes or so, I actually have a full bucket of water, right? A full bucket of water. While some other people are, moving up and down, searching around for water here and there, they may not necessarily get. Some do get, right? But I'm just saying that those little drops at that point, they seem very insignificant, right? But if you give them the time, and allow it to do what it's meant to do, with time you'll actually get your reward of a full bucket of water, right? Full bucket of water. And that's how it is with life generally. You've got to allow yourself, Tyler, to make those little steps, right? And be okay with making those little steps. Be okay with it, honestly, Tyler. Be okay with, okay, I made a little progress today. There'll be days that you'll make a gigantic step, a major gigantic step. Those days will not always come. But make sure that every day that something is improving. Now, let's use, just trying to finalize things and round up all. I think one of the greatest examples of waiting is found in a pregnant woman, right? A pregnant woman gets married, trusts God for the fruit of the womb. She gets pregnant. The day she gets pregnant is not the day she gives birth. It's not the day she gives birth. In fact, she may be, a lot of times, it's varying for people, but let's just assume that a lot of women would want to conceive quite early. And so she has to be patient with herself, right? Saying some people get conceived the night of the wedding, some people take some months, but then having just to be patient with the whole situation. It's not something that they are necessarily in control of. They can initiate it, but then after that, it's, just left to God and His mercy, science and all. She gets pregnant. The day she gets pregnant is not the day she delivers. She has to incubate that child. Now, it's going to come with a whole lot of uncomfortable things. The child being in her is going to place a lot of demands on her. It's going to place demands on her body. It's going to place demands on her appetite. Sometimes she begins to crave for some certain things. She goes front and back, here and there. For certain things like that, it's going to place a lot of demand on her. Now, what happens is that you could become so uncomfortable and decide to abort that child. You could. And I don't know how it would actually happen, but I'm sure all of those cravings and things would go. It's initiated because of that individual inside of you. But because you want to preserve that beautiful gift, you endure. There's a whole lot of endurance that goes into patience. You endure it. And then at the time of conception, you could either give up as a woman, right? Especially if you're going to labor. See, I'm talking like an expert. Please, I'm not though. But you're demanded to, push at certain times, certain intervals based on the midwives' directives, the doctor's directives, whatever. And your refusal can lead to your death or the death of the child. So you are pushing, it's excruciating. I can't even imagine it. I've seen all of these like little videos of men trying out this device that simulates menstrual pain, menstrual cramps and all, and how I think at like level 4 the men are already on the floor, and the women on level 10 are like, yeah, we can feel it, but it's nothing compared to that. So this is me saying I don't understand what you go through, but you're going through that excruciating pain, but you just push on, and the moment that child comes, it's just a major relief. Now, the part of scripture says, for the joy that was set before him, this was talking about Jesus, he endured the cross. Anybody that would walk in patience must be able to see the bigger picture. The goal is to always see the bigger picture. Then you now have to start nurturing the child. You understand, especially if you're a first-time mother, you've got to be patient with yourself, you've got to learn. I remember having a friend of mine when she just gave birth. For the first 2 days, she was not lactating, right? And so it was kind of hard, giving the child breast milk and all. It was really, really difficult. I think it was a few days after that they had to do some stuff, and then she started lactating and started getting able to feed the child. You understand? But you have to be patient with yourself. You're learning to be a mother. You're learning to be a father. You're growing in this thing. You're learning to be a parent, right? Your children are also learning, and there are just quite a lot of things, right? But these are the things that the Holy Spirit works in us. These are the things that the Holy Spirit literally works in us, Tyler. So you've got to learn to be patient with people. You've got to learn to be patient with situations, and you've got to learn to be patient with yourself. When it comes to people, help them see the bigger picture. When it comes to situations, be still and know that He is God. When it comes to yourself, value every little progress and have a heart of gratitude. A heart of gratitude is what will get you through those seasons of pain. A heart of gratitude is what will get you through those seasons of pain. Right? Israel was in Egypt once upon a time. They were in the wilderness. They were angry. They were no longer in Egypt. If they had seen what God had taken them through, it would have given them the grace, that strength, the ability to actually make it into the promised land. But because they lost that sense of gratitude, right? And it put them in a very awkward position. That's what naturally happens to a whole lot of us. Impatience with ourselves puts us in positions that we could have almost avoided, right? So you've got to learn. We have all got to learn to be patient with ourselves, right? Patient with ourselves. What's the boundary of it? It's okay to let people know that you've overstepped boundaries, but always know that men will always be men. I think it's something I've learned from Apostle and from life generally. The best of a man will always be a man, including you. And so always make sure that you have given yourself enough room, you understand, to accommodate those excesses of men, people, situations. Give yourself that room. You owe yourself that, right? And the moment you enter into a frenzy, you become whole, totally anxious and all, that's where you become absolutely set up for danger, right? So those that wait on the Lord will renew their strength. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. So I hope this really helps you, or really helped you rather. This is quite long. I think this is like the longest I've ever done. But yeah, I really hope that it blessed you. And yeah, please, I'd love your feedback. Like I said, if you've got stories or things to share, I'd really love to hear them, right? And then I'm sure other Tylers around would also love to hear it too. So thank you, Tyler. Remember, I love you, I believe in you, and I'm always rooting for you. Bye.